Well, it never ends. Just when you think you got these things going, they break down again. This is one of these Memorex cable boxes that receives the local off-air stations and converts them down to standard definition for distribution. It's part of my in-house distribution system. These things are always breaking down. The most trouble-prone piece of electronic I own is this thing. I just pan it up to the monitor here, we'll turn it on, and see what happens. Nothing. I have no signal from this thing at all. No video signal at all on this thing. This one's completely dead. I have two of them here. Let's see if the other one works or has a signal. Let's get them both plugged in here to the power bar. Plug the other one in, see whether there's anything different that happens on it. And this one's actually turning on now and actually working, but it stopped. It just froze, you see? Here's our problem. So we got two of these boxes. One of them won't even boot up at all. The other one here is just freezing. See the picture? It's not my signal. My signal into the house is fine. I got a good strong signal. It's the box itself as a problem. It's an ongoing problem with these things. They're just a piece of junk, and we're going to take both of the units apart and see what's going wrong with them. Pretty much know what the problem's going to be because the problem's always the same. They run the capacitor so hot in the power supply that they don't last, and it's futile. You just keep replacing the parts, and they're good for a while, and they burn them up again. It's an effort really to keep these things working, and I'm wondering whether maybe the time has come where I should shut them down, but they don't draw a lot of power. These things only draw about, I think they're about 10 watts or something. Yeah, 7.5 watts. So it's not like these things cost a lot to leave them running 24 hours a day. So I just keep them on so that it's just more for convenience, so that I can go to any TV and just turn on the TV if I want to watch the news or something, and I'm working in the workshop and I don't have a TV with a cable box. I can just tune one of these things in. So it's more for the convenience, but let's see why they've gone dead again. I'm going to skip all the testing and stuff. I'm just going to go right into the power supplies because I know where the problem's going to be. It's going to be these capacitors here that are bad. That's what went wrong the last two times they broke down. It's going to be the same parts have failed yet again, and we're going to replace these parts, and these things are going to be working again, guaranteed. Okay, on one of these power supplies, it's had these three caps have been replaced on this one here, and they're all measuring good, but this other little one down here, this little 100 microfarad at 16 volts, is measuring a little bit high. So we're going to change that one and see whether that fixes this power supply, because this one's got, these ones were replaced the last time it was serviced. On this one here, the only one that's been replaced is that one. These other three are original, so probably these ones are the problem with this one. On this one here, it's more than likely just this one little filter. And this is probably the one that was booting up, but pixelating a bit, and the other one wasn't booting up at all. So let me just straighten these leads a bit, and we'll put this filter in, and we'll change the other ones on the other power supply and see whether that makes the other one work. So we'll just solder the capacitor in place. So that's one. And we'll go to the other one here, and we'll just pull these other caps out. We'll test them with the ESR meter. This power supply's got inductors in it, and there's capacitors in parallel, so you don't get an accurate read on switching power supplies that have inductors. When you've got multiple capacitors in parallel with an inductor between them, you don't get an accurate read with the ESR meter. You pretty much have to take them out of the circuit in order to get a good reading on these ones here, because they are in parallel with another cap, but Not only that, the inductor resonates and has a tendency to throw off your reading. So whenever you've got a switching power supply like this one here, which has got two capacitors or more in series or in parallel with each other, but with an inductor in series between the capacitors, it's a good idea to either remove them or just pull one lead. Oh, my plug's broken here. You think maybe that's part of the problem on this? That may be where I'm losing my problem. Looks like the plug is deteriorated. That may be part of the problem. But 34 ohms on a 220 microfarad capacitor at 16 volts is a problem. So that one's definitely bad. And when we put this thing back together, I'm going to have to pay special attention to that plug to make sure that the pins connect properly. As I say, these little cable boxes, I think when the manufacturers put these things out, these over-the-air tuners, the manufacturers put them out, and they put them out because they were forced to for the transition, but I'm sure all expected that people would use them for a year or two, and then they would upgrade their TV, and these units would be taken out of service. So they didn't put any quality into the production of them. Of course, they didn't think about people like me that want to use it as a dedicated tuner and leave the thing running all the time. So that's another cap out here. We'll just take a look at this one and see what condition this one's in. I'm sure this one's probably 4.2 ohms. It's also bad. So that's two of them. More than likely this other one is also bad, but we'll take a look at it in a minute. We will do that. I'm going to solder this right on. I'm going to take this board out. I'm going to cut this plug right off, and I'm going to solder all the wires one at a time right down to the board. That way I can be assured that it's not going to come apart and short. The last thing I want to have happen is to have this thing short and possibly create a fire hazard. So we'll take the board out. Fortunately, there's just a couple screws that hold it in place. And then we'll just cut the wires one at a time and just solder them onto the pins. I'll do it probably on the bottom side of the board. Nice thing about it is it is a ribbon cable, so everything's all in order, so there's no mistaking which wires go where. You just have to do each one at a time, and once you get them all soldered in place, this unit should be good for a while, I would hope. So the first thing I'm going to do is get some light in here first of all. We're going to I'll tin all the connectors here just to get some good tin on them before I start soldering the wires in place. And we'll start working our way across here, starting on the end. Place. We'll start working across the front here. Okay, we've got the four that were damaged soldered onto the bottom of the board. I'm not going to do them all because the other ones are still okay for now. Unless this connector breaks some more, there's no point in doing all of them. Put the board back in place. And fasten in the screws to hold it in place. Okay, we'll hook our antenna back up to this one, turn on the power, and see whether we get anything. Okay, hit the power button. Hey, it appears that we're going to get something. There we go. One fixed. CKVU DT. Don't want to show this for more than a few seconds because we know how the copyright guys get. Okay, one done. We'll go to the next one, put the power supply back in that one. I'm sure it will work. The next time this one's serviced, it'll probably have to have the board soldered down on it too. Wonderful. Again, as I've said many times, every time I work on these things, my God, but just very low quality. Hey, it's Memorex, right? Remember when they used to say, is it Alive or is it Memorex? Remember those old commercials? Ella Fitzgerald doing the Memorex commercials back in the, I guess it was the 70s when the chromium dioxide tape came out. Okay, power on. We have a red light. I'll pan this up onto my TV. Hit the power button. I got a boot up screen. Okay, the power supply is okay on this thing. I think we've found the problem. If I tap on the tuner, we got a tuner problem on this one. We had a tuner go bad on one of the other ones before. Not this one, but one of the other ones. It's going to be ground connections inside this tuner. There's a whole bunch of ground pins that inside here that go from one side of the board to the other, and they fracture. I just got to resolder them all. Now, and that happened on one of these identical units last year. It's now happened on this one. Ah, what the heck, just to point out what goes wrong in here. These grounds that go through the board here, these big ground pins that go through the board, they fracture. And along here, around on here. These connections fracture, cause problems. I've got it apart, so I might as well fix it. Even though I don't really need to. I've got it apart, I might as well just go over it now. We'll see if it fixes it. But I'm just resoldering all the ground wires. I might be in the way. I can't see the monitor. I'm just resoldering all these ground pins where they pass through the board. All the ones around the edges I've already done. These were very common problems on all these tuners. Not just the ones that Samsung made, but a lot of the Sony TVs. And back in the 90s, we used to get the TVs coming in all the time for cutting in and out, picture cutting in and out, and it was all the same problem. It was all these ground pins that go bad in the tuners. And now I've just resoldered those grounds, and as you can see, I have a picture. And it's not breaking up. Another one fixed. So when you see these type of tuners like this and you can tap on them and they break up or cut in and out, then do resolder all the grounds, and that'll solve your problems most of the time. You can tap on it now and it's not breaking up.